Hello everyone, welcome back to learnerslesson.com. So today we are in tutorial number 5 where we are going to learn about decision making. So before I continue with this tutorial, there is a little request from my side. If you want to get daily updates, please subscribe this channel, and if you love these videos, please hit the like button. So what is decision making? In your everyday life, you have to make some decision. Say in the morning, if you want to go to the school or college or office, you have to make a decision like either you're going to take a bus or you're going to take a cab or you're going to take a train. Even the same thing applies for Java as well. Java also makes some decision, and decision making in Java is done using if statement, else statement, or an else if statement. So we will be explaining if, else and else if with a few examples. So let us see the first example. How would your friend go to office? So say you have a friend who is from a village and his specialty is he cannot remember anything. So whatever you tell him, he takes out his cell phone and he notes it there. So right now he is staying with you and he asks you, hey buddy, how would I go to the office? So you tell him you go to the road. Whenever you find a bus, you just take a bus and go to the office. So he takes out his cell phone and he writes that I need to go in a bus. Say your friend, he might not remember anything, but he's very good at Java. So whatever he does in life, he writes everything using Java. Now he goes to the road and finds that a car is coming. So he writes this particular statement, string x equals new string car. So what happens is a string type variable x is created and car is initialized to that. Now your friend has to make a decision that whether he has to go in this car or not. So he writes this particular statement, if x dot equals, and there is nothing inside the bracket. He has to fill it. Now in plain English, what is the meaning of this line is your friend sees a car coming in. Now he has to make a decision that will he be going in a car or not. So he takes out his cell phone and then he finds that you asked him to go in a bus. Now he copies the same thing in the equals method. So in this line he finds that, oh no, I don't have to go in a car because I have to go in a bus. My friend asked me to go in a bus. Now what happens is he waits for the bus to come. Now in order to make these lines a little simple, let me explain this using Java. In the first line, we have declared a string type variable called x and we have assigned car to it. And in the next line, we have the if statement. And if statement is the statement by which Java takes a decision. Inside the if statement, we have mentioned x dot equals bus. What is the meaning of this statement? The statement means whatever is there inside x, is it equal to whatever is there inside the parameter of equals method. So what is there inside x? There is car inside x. And what is there inside the parameter of equals method? There is bus inside it. So car is not equal to bus. So this condition won't be satisfied and Java won't be going into the blocks of the if statement. Just wait for a while. Did I just say blocks of if? What do I mean by block? And this is the block of if, which starts with a second bracket or is also called as brace and ends with a brace. Inside this, whatever you write, that statement will only be executed if this particular condition is true. And what is there? This particular condition is there. So what happens? If x dot equals bus, this particular condition is satisfied, Java goes into the block of this if statement and system.out.println go in bus would be executed. So in this case, this particular statement is false, that x equals bus, because right now inside x we have car and inside the parameter of equals method we have bus. So this condition doesn't match and the block doesn't get executed. Just think for a while. Your friend sees a car coming in, but he has to go in a bus. So how would he go? He simply has to wait. Then he sees a bus coming in. Immediately he writes this particular statement, string x equals new string bus. And what happens is a variable called x is created and bus is initialized to it. Then and there he writes the next statement, if x dot equals bus, and this particular lines he writes. What happens is your friend goes to this particular line, if x dot equals bus. So he finds that now inside x there is bus. And also inside the parameter of equals method there is bus. So this particular condition satisfied and your friend goes in the bus. Just think practically. Your friend sees a bus coming and he's supposed to go in a bus. So he goes in a bus. So let us see an example in Java. How can we achieve this? So this is the first program in which we have the first line, string x equals new string bus. What happens is a string type variable called x is created and it is initialized with bus. Now let us write the next line, which is the if statement, where we are trying to compare if the value inside x is equal to bus or not. So we try to check what is there inside x, and what we can find is inside x it is bus, and also inside the parameters of equals method it is also bus. And as we can see, this particular condition matches, that is x equals bus. This particular condition is true, and Java goes into the block of if method and go in bus is printed on the screen. Now let us also see the next condition where a vehicle called car was coming. So in this case, string x equals new string car. So your friend has seen a car coming in. So a variable called x is created and car is initialized to it, and then we have the if statement. And if we try to see what is there inside x, we can find that inside x there is car now, and inside the parameter of equals method it is bus. So these two values doesn't match, and what happens is nothing would be printed on the screen because Java doesn't get into the block of the if statement. Now let us consider a different scenario. So in this case, your friend has seen a car coming in, so he didn't get a bus, so he couldn't go to the office. Now he comes running to you and he asks you, hey buddy, how would I go to office? I didn't get a bus in the road. I only found a car coming in. Now you got so pissed off. You told him that if you don't get a bus, don't go to office. And your friend agrees to it. So he takes out his mobile and he writes, if I get a bus, I'll go to office. If I don't get a bus, I'll not go to the office. Now, how does he write the same in Java? So whenever he sees a car coming in, he creates a string type variable called as x and assigns car to it. Then what he does is he writes the if statement that if the value is equal to bus, I'll go in a bus, else I'll not go to the office. And what is the meaning of this statement again? In Java, what we have written is we have created a string type variable called x and we have assigned car to it. Now, if whatever value is there inside x, if it's equal to bus, then we'll go in a bus, else don't go to the office. As simple as that. So let us see this using a Java example. Now a string type variable called as x is created and car is initialized to it. Then there is the if statement which is telling if x dot equals bus, go in bus, else don't go to the office. Now let us come to the first if statement. In the first if statement, we can see that it is asking if x dot equals bus or not. Now what is there inside x? There is car inside x. And what is there inside the parameter of the equals method? There is bus inside the parameter of equals method. And these two are not equal. So Java will not be going into the block of this particular if statement. And if this particular if statement is not correct, it immediately comes to the else part. And what happens is in the else part, we see system.out.println don't go to office is there. And this particular line will be printed on the screen. And in this example, we have learnt about the else statement. We have seen that if a condition inside the if statement is not true, Java immediately comes to the else statement. And in this case, what we have seen is in the if statement, x dot equals bus, this condition was not true because inside x we had car and inside the parameter of equals method we had bus. So this particular condition didn't match. Java immediately came to the else statement and don't go to office is printed on the screen. Now let us see a different scenario. Your friend comes back to you and started complaining you, look buddy, today I couldn't go to the office because I didn't get a bus. Please tell me some other alternative so that I don't miss office every day. Then you tell your friend, look buddy, if you get a bus, go in a bus. If you don't get a bus, try for a taxi. Even if you don't get a taxi, then don't go to office. Then he takes out his mobile phone and writes the same thing. If I get a bus, I'll go by bus. If I don't get a bus, I'll go by taxi. Even if I don't get a taxi, I'll not go to the office. How will the same thing be written in Java? So just assume your friend goes to the road and finds a car coming. So he writes the same thing, string x equals new string car, and a string type variable x will be created and car will be assigned to it. Now he writes the first line for bus. If x dot equals bus, system.out.println go in bus. Then he writes the next line, that is else if x dot equals taxi, system.out.println go in taxi, and finally he comes to the else part, system.out.println don't go to office. So what do I mean by this lines is, in the first line we can see that if x dot equals bus, so if x means whatever vehicle is coming, that is a bus, then he'll go in a bus. Else if there is also one more condition which says if x is equal to taxi, that is if he gets a taxi, then he'll go in a taxi, else he'll not go to the office. So right now it's a car and none of the condition matches, so your friend will not be going to the office. Now let us see this with a Java example. So he has mentioned it this way: whenever he sees a car coming in, he writes string x equals new string car, and a variable called x is created and is assigned with the value car. Then he writes the first line, if x dot equals bus, then he prints this statement, go in bus. Else if this condition is true, x dot equals taxi, go in taxi, else don't go to office. So let us see the first line, that is if x dot equals bus. So what is there inside x? There is car inside x. And what is there inside the parameters of equals? There is bus inside the parameters of equals, and these two are not equal. So what happens is, this particular condition is not true. Java immediately comes to the next condition, that is else if x dot equals taxi. So what is there inside x? There is car inside x. And what is there inside the parameters of equals method? There is taxi. Even this particular thing doesn't match as well. So Java comes to the else part, and finally don't go to office is printed on the screen. Just imagine, like if a car comes in, your friend first compares if it's a bus or not. No, it's not a bus. Then again he compares if it's a taxi or not. Again, it's not a taxi. So he doesn't go to the office. So let us see the other condition as well. So right now your friend sees a taxi coming in. So what happens is, he creates a variable called as x and he initializes it with taxi, and also he writes all the condition. Then he comes to the first line, which is if x dot equals bus or not. So what is there inside x? There is taxi inside x. And what is there inside the parameters of equals method? There is bus. So this condition is not true. So what your friend does, your friend comes to the else if statement. And what is there in else if statement? It's else if x dot equals taxi. Now what is there inside x? There is taxi inside x. And what is there inside the parameters of equals method? It's also taxi. Now this particular condition matches, and system.out.println go in taxi is printed on the screen. In other words, your friend gets a taxi now and he goes in a taxi. Now let us also see the third condition, where your friend gets a bus now. So again he creates a string type variable, and a variable called x is created and it is assigned with the value bus. Now again he writes this three conditions. So he comes to the first line, if x dot equals bus. What is there inside x? There is bus inside x, and also in the parameters of equals method it is also bus, and this two thing matches. And what happens is, system.out.println go in bus is printed on the screen, and Java doesn't go to any of the statement like else if or else statement. If the first condition is satisfied, it prints the first condition and exits. So far we have seen if statement using only strings. Now let us see if statement with numbers. Now you have asked your forgetful friend to go to the market and buy apples. You also told him, look buddy, if the price of apples are more than 140 rupees, then don't buy the apple. What he does is, he takes out his mobile phone and he makes a note that if the price of apples are more than 140 rupees, then he's not going to buy that. And the same thing he writes in Java. So he goes to the market and asks the shopkeeper, what is the price of the apple? The shopkeeper tells the price of apple is 100 rupees. So he creates an integer type variable called x and assigns it with value 100. Then he checks if x is less than 140 or not. That is like, what is the price of apple now? The price of apple in the market is 100 rupees, and you have told him that if it's more than 140, don't buy. So he checks that is 100 less than 140? Yes, it is less than 140. So buy apples. Also he writes the else condition. Else do not buy apples. So he writes both the conditions, that if x is less than 140, then buy apples, else don't buy apples. So let us see this example using Java. So he went to the market and he has seen that the price of apple is 100 rupees. So he creates a variable called x and assigns 100 to it. Then he checks if x is less than 140 or not. then he buys the apples, or else he doesn't buy the apple. So what happens in this case? When we come to the if statement, we can see if x is less than 140. So what is there inside x? There is 100 inside x. And also in the right hand side, what is there? It's 140. So is 100 less than 140? Yes, 100 is less than 140. So Java immediately comes to the line system.out.println buy apples, and buy apples is printed on the screen. In other words, your friend is ready to buy apples now. Now let us see the second condition. So your friend goes to the market and finds that the price of apple is 180 rupees. So immediately he creates a variable called x and assigns with the value 180. Then he writes the if statement and also writes the else statement. Now what happens is, when it comes to the if statement, he compares what is there inside x. There is 180 inside x, and in the right hand side there is 140. That is what you told him. If the price is more than 140, don't buy that. So currently the price of apple is 180 rupees. So this is not less than 140. So immediately he comes to the else part, and do not buy apples is printed on the screen. Why didn't he buy the apple? Because the price of apple is 180, which is more than 140 rupees. So that is what happens. Now he comes running to you and he tells you that why the shopkeepers are charging more, what can be done. Then you tell him, look buddy, if the price is more than 140 rupees, then you can tell him that lower down the price. You can bargain with the person, and if it's less than 140, then you can simply ignore it. Now your friend goes to the market again, and he finds that the price of apple is 180 rupees. Then he creates a variable called as x and immediately assigns 180 to it. Then he writes the if statement that if x is greater than 140, he will be asking the shopkeeper to reduce the price, else he can simply say thank you and buy the apples. So let us see this using a Java example. So your friend goes to the market and finds that the price of apple is 180 rupees. Then he creates an integer type variable called x and assigns 180 to it. Then he writes the if statement and also the else statement. So when we come to the if statement, we can find is x is greater than 140 or not. And if we see, there is 180 inside x, and in the right hand side we find 140. So this particular condition is true. So immediately he goes to the first block and reduce the price is printed on the screen. And think practically, like if the price of apple is more than 140 rupees, then he needs to tell the shopkeeper that, hey, please reduce the price. So this example was all about if condition using the greater than sign. Now let us see the next example. Now your forgetful friend wants to buy a t-shirt. So he comes to you and asks you, hey buddy, I want to buy a t-shirt. So you tell him that go to the market. So if you find the price of t-shirt is exactly equal to 200, only in that case you buy the t-shirt, else don't buy. Similarly, he takes out his mobile phone and writes, if the price of the t-shirt is 200 rupees, he's going to buy that, else he's not going to buy that. Now, how do you write the same in Java? So he goes to the market and he finds that the price of the t-shirt is exactly equal to 200. So he creates a integer type variable called as x and assigns the value 200 to it. Then he writes the if statement. If x double equal to 200, buy t-shirt. So what is this double equal to? This double equal to is actually called as the comparison operator, and on top of that you can see there is a equal to. So this equal to is the assignment operator. Whatever value is there in the right hand side, it goes and sits in the left hand side. In this case, int x equals 200. 200 goes and sits inside x for an assignment operator, that is a single equal to. And in the next case, in the if statement, we can see there are two equal to sign, and that is called as the comparison operator. So here, what in the if statement, what we are doing is we are trying to compare x with 200. So what is there inside x now? There is 200 inside x, and in the right hand side also we can find 200. So buy t-shirt would be printed on the screen. And also let us, for the safer side, write the else statement. Now let us implement this in Java. So your friend goes to the market and finds the price of the t-shirt is 200 rupees. So he creates a integer type variable and assigns 200 to it. Then he writes the if statement and also he writes the else statement. Now what happens is, in the if statement we check what is there inside x. There is 200 inside x, and what is in the right hand side, it's also 200. Now this condition matches, and buy t-shirt is printed on the screen. Also, just think practically. If the price of the t-shirt is 200 rupees, your friend is going to buy that. And if it was something other than 200, your friend wouldn't have been buying this particular t-shirt, and do not buy t-shirt would be printed on the screen. So that was all about if, else and else if statement. Now you can practice all these examples in your IntelliJ IDEA editor. I'll be showing one example in the IntelliJ IDEA so that it becomes clear to you. And here we are in the IntelliJ editor, so where we are going to check if the value of x is equal to 200 or not. And this is what we have written. It's same as the code which we have discussed right now. So let us go to run and click on run, my first application, and as we can see, buy t-shirt is printed on the screen. Now let us change this particular value from 200 to 100. Let us rerun it again, and as we can see, do not buy t-shirt is printed on the screen. So that was all about the decision making in Java using if, else and else if. So now it's time for an assignment. So you need to complete this assignment, and you can mail me. I'll be sharing the mail ID with you. You can mail me in that particular email address, and let us look at the assignment. So you need to check if a number is even or odd. So let me give you some hints. What is an odd number? Numbers that are not divisible by 2. What do I mean by this? Say you have a number called 5 and you are dividing this number by 2. 2 2s are 4 and you have remainder 1. So since this has a remainder 1, it is not divisible by 2. So this particular number is an odd number. So 5 is an odd number since it's not divisible by 2 and it has a remainder 1. Again, what is an even number? An even number is a number that are divisible by 2. So let us take the example of 8. So when 8 is divided by 2, we get 2 4s are 8 and the remainder is 0. So if the remainder is 0, the number is an even number. So what we got is, if the remainder is 0, it's a even number, and if the remainder is 1, it's a odd number. So how to divide a number in Java? Say we have declared a variable called as x and initialized 5 to it. Again, we have declared one more variable y and initialized 2 with it. That is, we want to divide the number 5 by 2 and store the result in z. And what happens is, the divided value is 2 is printed on the screen. That is because when we divide 5 by 2, it becomes 2 2s are 4 and the remainder is 1. But only the quotient, that is only 2, is printed on the screen. So what about the remainder, that is 1? And in order to find the remainder, what you can do is you can use this particular sign, that is z equals x modulo y. So modulo means if you want to calculate the remainder, in that case, in this particular case, what is the remainder? The remainder is 1. So what happens is the remainder is 1 is printed on the screen. So that is all about your assignment. So I've given you a few hints. You need to check if a number is even or odd. You need to do this, and you can send me your answers to submit.code at learnerslesson.com. It's a little tough, but don't worry, you can try it. If you cannot, just do send me a mail in this particular email ID. I'll be sending you the answers. So that was all about decision making in Java. In the next tutorial, we are going to learn about Java loops. Stay subscribed so that you can receive the latest updates. See you in the next tutorial. Till then, take care and bye-bye. Thanks for watching this video. Please do like and subscribe if you love this video, and see you on the next tutorial. Thank you so much.